atmosphere at a poker table can suddenly turn thick, as if the air itself has gained mass. It happens when a presence across from us stops playing the cards and starts weaponizing the environment. Maybe it's excessive tanking, an insulting demeanor, or a constant restless energy designed to interrupt the flow of the room. It acts as high-intensity external noise. We've already mapped our internal architecture. We learned how to tune our antennas to the 11 million bits of intuition, learned how to identify the adrenaline surge that mimics a soul read, and how to spot when our brain is actively sabotaging us into taking the easy way out. But this time, we're facing an external threat. Expecting a strategy to remain unaffected by this intentional interference is a strategic delusion. A high-fidelity system cannot simply ignore a high-decibel broadcast. Attempting to stay composed against this hostility creates a massive invisible leak. It allows an external frequency to dictate our baseline. We become reactive particles pushed around by the table's gravity. Quantum decision theory suggests a shift. We exist in superposition. We can simultaneously feel visceral loathing for an opponent and maintain the technical precision required to stack them. The objective is coherence. While we previously used the state to amplify the resonance with others, today we will use it as a defensive filter. We aren't going to just chill out and relax. We're going to use that high-frequency human rage and phase shift it. We are pulling the veil back on the most volatile element in the game. Standard theory treats our mind as a binary toggle. We're either tilted or we're logical. Quantum decision theory, QDT, recognizes that the human system is far more complex than that. Developed by researchers like Dr. Vyacheslav Yukalov, QDT applies the mathematics of quantum probabilities to the way we process choices under pressure. In the quantum world, a system exists in superposition, simultaneously holding multiple states until a measurement is made. Before we move, we are a live wire of possibilities. We exist as both the receptor of the environmental signal and the engine of clinical execution. The danger arises not from the emotion itself, but from the forceful attempt to collapse this wave. When we try to delete loathing from our system to protect our logic, we're violating our own internal physics. We look to Dr. David Bohm's concept of implicate order. He argues that the explicate order, that's our surface level reality, is just a manifestation of a deeper, undivided wholeness. When an opponent weaponizes the table, they're trying to force our explicate order, or immediate, superficial behavior, into a state of reaction. They're trying to collapse our wave function into predictable particles. Our physiology is not a neutral spectator. It is the infrastructure upon which our strategy is built. We are currently facing adversarial somatic hijacking, a targeted exploit where our opponent bypasses our logic and triggers a pre-programmed biological alarm. When our opponent deliberately destabilizes the field, they're initiating a denial of service attack on us. By flooding the environment with high-intensity noise, they aren't just trying to tilt us. They're attempting to maximize the information entropy within our internal processor. In communication theory, entropy is a measure of randomness and uncertainty. By introducing highly erratic, volatile inputs, our opponent forces us to expend vast amounts of metabolic RAM just to filter the signal from the static. They're creating a state of cognitive surcharge. That's the polar opposite of the flow state we covet. They're forcing us to oscillate between processing the objective game tree and managing their manufactured chaos. They're effectively trying to trigger autonomic dissonance, a state where our high-level strategic intentions are held hostage by the primitive physiological threat responses firing in our limbic system. They don't need to be better at the game than us. All they need to do is make sure that we're too busy managing their noise to compute equities correctly. We're not just losing our edge. We're losing the ability to calculate the next move. They use the somatic markers as a leash, not a guide. When they see us tense up, deviate from our standard lines, or tighten up on our bet sizing, they know that they have successfully transformed us from a high-speed calculator into a reactive, fear-based output. They're not playing the cards, they're playing the vulnerabilities in our firmware. Direct turbulence, manufactured to disrupt our field, serves as an intentional attempt to generate destructive interference, which is essentially jamming our receiver. To counteract this, we have two protocols we can follow. Instead of attempting to dampen the surge of adrenaline, we apply a phase shift. We must be precise here. The amateur floods. They allow the high-frequency charge of irritation to bypass their prefrontal cortex and saturate their entire biological system. We do the opposite. We align that raw, powerful voltage with our technical objectives. Research into neural overclocking by Dr. Holmberg shows that adrenaline physically increases our temporal resolution. It is like upgrading the frame rate on a monitor. It sharpens our ability to see between the frames, revealing timing tells and sizing inconsistencies that remain invisible in a state of calm. Where the common player views adrenaline as a contaminant to be flushed, we use it as high voltage input. We prevent the brain from triggering sensory gating by consciously phase shifting. We adjust the timing and the vector of our internal response. This is the critical distinction. Sensory gating is the brain's emergency shutdown. It tunnels our vision to focus on a perceived threat, effectively blinding us to the rest of the game tree. We refuse that shutdown. By phase shifting, we integrate the raw surge of the irritant directly into our own signal, converting a potential hardware sabotage into an immediate processing gain. We harness the intensity of the anger to sharpen the resolution of the field, elevating our awareness beyond the emotional baseline. We operate in an overclocked state, maintaining absolute command of the game tree while the rest of the table drowns in the noise. To ensure we remain the scientist in the chair, we apply 3 anchors to separate us from the noise. Number 1, tactical labeling. Replace subjective emotional interpretation, he's being a prick, with objective technical descriptors. Static intensity and seat force peaking. This forces a physiological switch from the limbic system to the prefrontal cortex. We resolve the internal conflict by auditing the field data. Number 2, respiratory braking. This isn't about relaxing, this is a tactical override. When the room's tension spikes, we reset our system by exhaling twice as long as inhaling. This action directly signals to the nervous system to stop reacting to the environment. It keeps our brain from jumping into a manic, panicked, impulsive state. This protocol keeps our processing speed locked. We maintain a closed system, immune to the noise, while the rest of the table loses their edge. Number 3, lead indicator analysis. Treat agitation as a diagnostic tool. High aggression tactics often mask a widening gap between perceived and actual equity or skill. Analyze the irritant as a lead indicator for an impending technical leak. For example, overbluffing on board textures that demand nuance. We do not expend energy to push back on energy itself. We remain steady, wait for the wave to overextend, and capitalize on the break. The transition from the poker table to the real world is not a change in venue. It's a change in the stakes. In business and the fractured dynamics of our interpersonal lives, the environment is constantly being weaponized to force us into a state of reactivity. Most people operate like particles. They exist in a state of perpetual response, being pushed around by the table's gravity, and losing their sovereignty the moment someone else raises the volume. They believe that to remain composed, they must suppress their own volatility. They're fighting the physics of the system. The sovereign observer does the opposite. We accept the fire as it is. Turbulence, the friction of a negotiation, the irrationality of a partner, the sabotage of a project serves as raw data. The noise is not an obstacle to the objective. It is the environment in which the objective is achieved. Detaching from the chaos, we cease to vibrate with the static of others, becoming a stable field in a room full of collapsed waves. This provides the ultimate strategic advantage. While others are expending energy, protecting their ego, or attempting to remain flat under pressure, we are overclocking our decision making. We process the field exactly as it is, stripping away the filter of how we wish it to be. This is a fundamental shift in our relationship to volatility. We no longer vibrate with the noise, we define the signal. The professional grind is frequently sold to us as the pursuit of cold, bloodless logic, a narrow, fragile way to exist. Through quantum decision theory, we move beyond the binary logic versus emotion and learn to embrace our nature as complex systems operating in a high-intensity field. We play through the loathing, using its raw voltage to sharpen our focus. It's a graduation from a previous bracing against the impact of the arena during overwhelm and exhaustion. We are now using the full spectrum of our biological capacity. In a room populated by individuals who are either struggling to remain flat or drowning in their own reactivity, the edge belongs to the one who stays coherent in the storm, the one who feels the heat, measures the charge, and holds the strategic line with surgical precision. The game remains the same. Our calibration to its volatility has fundamentally improved. We now command the physics of the arena, leveraging our entire internal architecture to impose our intent on the field. By maintaining total coherence, we become the anchor around which the rest of the table must resolve. The field is waiting for a measurement. Take the seat.